Try this one more time. There we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this stream. My name is Ryan Selvy, and this is File New. This is episode 80. 80. Can you believe it? Umacorn says we can't hear Ryan. Also, Oliver's saying muted. Clever's also saying muted. Umacorn's also saying now we can. Jack's saying hi, YouTube. Thank you guys all for being here. Thank you for being part of File New. I appreciate having us here. We're here every Wednesday at this time, which, depending on where you are in the world, could be 3 p.m. in the eastern side of the country, or it could be 12 o'clock if you're on the western side, or it could be a completely different time if you're somewhere else in the world. So if this is your first time tuning in, this is a show where we go over creator news, tech news, design news, everything that you need in order to stay up to date with the constant changing landscape for the creators out there in the world. So everything on this episode and previous episodes, as Wade is gracefully posting in the chat, is that you can get all these links from the Raindrop, which is linked in the description, and also be kind of throwing them in to the chat as we go. If you're watching this after the fact, thank you for being here, and we will make it a most replayable episode as possible, and you can still get a lot out of this even if you are not here live. So hello, all the people in the future. Good to have you here. Let's hop into news. So I try to kind of break up the episodes into segments. We have things like news, font of the week, resource, rebrand, spotlight, and we like to just kind of break down different things each week. If you ever have any suggestions, please reach out to me. I guess we can start off hot with the most important and pressing news in the entire world: new emojis. I feel like that's a millennial trait, a gay trait, a bunch of different traits for me. But I use lots of emojis. I love them. I like when they're updated. And with the new iOS update that's coming out, we have 7 new emotes that are coming out, and I feel like they're all very visual. These are all in the Apple style, as this is an Apple update that's coming out. It's for iOS like 18.3, I believe. And basically, my favorite out here is probably going to be one that I have in the center, which is this really tired-looking smiley face that just looks like he's gotten, less than 8 hours of sleep and is trying to work through it, which I can relate to very deeply. This is coming to us from 9 to 5 Mac, which is linked in the Raindrop. It says, as reported last year, the Unicode Consortium has teased 7 new emojis that would become available on platforms such as iOS and Android. Now, with the release of iOS 18.4 Beta 2 to developers, Apple has introduced support for these new emojis. So basically, the Unicode Consortium, which sounds like very evil, is coming, and they get to dictate and pick which get to get added to the emoji library, which is ever growing and ever changing. And I guess these are the 7 ones that they have come together and voted are very helpful. I am personally surprised that a shovel was never there, and I'm also surprised that the thumbprint was never there. The other 6 or the other 5 feel like they're just nice to haves, but I feel like the shovel and the thumbprint go a long way. I would like to know what everyone in chat thinks of what their new favorite one is of the 7. Oliver, regular here as always, is saying that the new emojis is great. We need every bit of good news we can right now. And yeah, we can get that little sad, tired looking guy. Welcome back to Bruce as well. Good to see you all here. And Peter, Keys, Umacorn, you name it. Peter really likes the root vegetable. A little beet makes me think of turnips from Animal Crossing personally, but I find I'll probably find a way to, find use for that in its own way. Moving on to some more like industry style news, there are the 2 new recipients of the Turing Award. So the Turing Award essentially is the kind of Nobel Prize of computing. And Andrew Barto and Richard Sutton pioneered reinforcement learning, which is a method allowing AI to learn from rewards and penalties. And this is inspired by how neurons seek pleasure and avoid pain. And their foundational research started in the late 1970s, and it led to major advancements in artificial intelligence, including systems like Firefly. Their 1998 book, Reinforcement Learning: An Introduction, remains a key text in the field. On Wednesday, which was today, the Association of Computing Machinery awarded the prestigious Turing Awards, often called the Nobel Peace Prize of Computing, recognizing their impact on AI. Their work laid the foundation for AI breakthroughs, including reinforcement learning from human feedback used in modern chatbots and modern image processors like Firefly. Reinforcement learning gained widespread attention in 2016 and has continued to completely revolutionize the industry. Bartow and Sutton believe AI will continue to evolve, and with future systems learning from real-world experiences, much like humans and animals. So if you guys are over the age of 15, which I hope you are, you will definitely remember a period of time where AI systems and AI imagery looked very different. You could look at it immediately and say that's an AI image because nothing really worked and nothing really made sense. But kind of in recent development years, in the recent 10 years or so, it has really evolved and become something new, especially in the recent 5 years, and it's using this reinforcement learning, which is rewarding things that are good and saying no to other ones, which kind of have a feedback loop, which then goes and continuously kind of feeds itself and continues to learn. In the chat, we have Clever saying, "I'm still trying to pass my Turing test," which yes, good luck on that one as well. Next up, we have a bunch of new Apple products that just got announced, including a new iPad with a new M chip, and there's also the Studio. The Studio is like a desktop system in the same way that I have a computer tower, but it's just this brick that sits on your desk. You can plug things in, can have monitor support. They also announced today some new MacBooks. So if you're someone who is looking for new updates to your Mac ecosystem, this is a time to check it out. There was a announcement yesterday with something in the air because they announced the new iPad Airs, which I don't know why they keep getting thinner and thinner. Like, we want more battery life. We want longer things. I mean, the battery life is already really good, but it's interesting to see where the priorities are for kind of making things thinner and stronger. But they have updated chips in them. They have, updated storage, updated capacities. So Wade went ahead and put the link in both YouTube and onto Behance. Oliver has been waiting for the M4 Air. If you are unfamiliar with what I'm saying when I'm saying M4 and chips, basically for the longest time, Apple products used other outside processors inside of their devices, and a few years ago, probably around 5 years ago or so, they switched over to Apple Silicone, which is what you'll notice has support with After Effects, but is a different way where it's baked in and made by Apple and baked into their own board. And they perform really well, and they're really good. And there's pros and cons for every single sort of device, but this is something that's been really exciting to see. I personally have an iPad that I think has an M2 chip in it. And I mean, I could throw anything at that sucker, and it hums along, which is really good. So make sure you check it out and let me know if you plan on upgrading or getting anything. The price is also updated. They were surprised to get a very competitive price, even with tariffs in conversations. So maybe a good time to upgrade. And as always, I always like to specify that this is a endorsement and a commentary made by Ryan Selvy. This is never a commentary or endorsement from Adobe itself. We are on Adobe Live. I'm thankful for Adobe Live for having me, but I want to be crystal clear that anything on this show is coming from Ryan Selvy and not Adobe directly. That said, I do like to report on Adobe news because it is an Adobe Live show. And so there is some exciting Premiere Update news. The Premiere Update news is for all of you shooters out there. This is for people who use Nikon cameras. Apparently, there is going to be support for Nikon NRAW, and that is spelled NRAW. We were checking out the community support page on Adobe, and someone said, can we please get support for Nikon's NRAW codec? Resolve and EDS already have it cooked up and ready to go. This reactive, rather proactive approach to codec integration is really disappointing. First it was ProRes RAW, and now NRAW. How about Adobe show Nikon shooters a little bit of love? And right from the Adobe team, Fergus is coming in and saying, I have good news for people following this thread. We have restarted work on adding Nikon NRAW support for video products. We expect to release NRAW support later this year. For the curious, NRAW support is coming via an update to Red's SDK, and Adobe has worked closely with Red for many years to support Red's R3D format, so we are delighted that the purchase of Red by Nikon has resulted in NRAW support being added to the Red SDK. As soon as NRAW support is available, we will give you the update about it, and I'll be sure to keep everyone doing. So, in the YouTube chat, since the YouTube chat is currently a link wall, I'd love to see everyone who is a shooter to go over to the YouTube chat real quick for me and let me know what you shoot on. Do you shoot on Nikon? Do you shoot on Sony? Are you a Canon girly? Let us know. And let me know what you suggest for me to use. I don't really tend to shoot, but it is nice to be able to leverage different codecs, especially with codecs changing all the time. Next up, speaking of shooting things, Sigma. Very unique camera that's being announced and coming out. It is a full block of aluminum, and it doesn't have a memory card on it. So this is the Sigma BF, which is a funny name for a camera and also an interesting design. A lot of the different tech channels that I follow were talking about it in the last week or so. Does anyone have any idea what the BF stands for in Sigma BF? I love to see the YouTube chat go off, and I appreciate you guys. Any guesses as to what the BF stands for? I'll let you know right now. Give you a few more seconds. But it stands for Beautiful Foolishness, which is very fun. It's not boyfriend. It's not the Sigma boyfriend, which is also hilarious to say. But Penny says, I didn't want to forget about YouTube again. I appreciate you. Cheryl is saying they use Nikon. Umacorn saying that Nikon doesn't have capabilities, video capabilities for D80. There's Oliver, who also shoots on Canon. It's good to always see that there is always a good variety of people shooting on different things. It's not all one singular thing. This seems really interesting to me. The Beautiful Foolishness from Sigma is on system memory, which is controversial, but I think is also kind of interesting. I think there's a lot of people that have cameras, and the act of having to like pull out the memory card and having a place where your memory card is then read can get kind of annoying. This Sigma BF is a 230 gigabyte solid piece of machinery, and I think that with it, it's like just shooting onto a solid state drive. It's coming out for $2,000, which is a lot of money, but it is expected to ship sometime in April 2025. It's compatible with L-mount lenses standard, and yeah, it also is used by Panasonic and Sigma as well. So I don't see myself getting this, but I do think it was interesting. I think it's a very pretty product. And a big shout out to The Verge for the information on this piece. This is from Andrew Lizuski. And there is a New York event going on that is going to be kind of focused on this camera launch. So if you're in the New York area, make sure you check it out. Going on to some Illustrator news for you guys. I was also poking around those pages as well. And I don't know if you knew this, but there was a large request. One of the biggest requests was to allow gradient swatches to be added to Creative Cloud libraries. Now, Creative Cloud libraries can be accessed from your Windows panel and syncs different information beyond different Adobe apps so that you can build color palettes, imagery, logos, fonts, all within the Adobe ecosystem, and you can save it. You can see here that I have Dido, and we have the different colors and the different graphics that I have it. For the longest time, people wanted to have gradient swatches, and there was a recent update from Akshaya Saxena, who is an admin for Adobe Illustrator, who said, we have released the support for gradient swatches in Creative Cloud library with our latest release, version 29.3. You can select the gradient swatch in the swatches panel and add it to the Creative Cloud library through the button on the bottom bar in the panel. You can also select any object which has gradient applied to it and add that gradient to the Creative Cloud library through Add Elements from the Libraries panel and choose Fill Gradient from the drop-down menu. This is something that people have wanted for a very long time. It had 849 votes on the creative user voice, which is a really good place to be able to give feedback and talk about what requests they want, what bugs you run into, and then the team has direct responses, especially when things get updated. You can say how important it is to you, and you can also be notified whenever there is an update or more comments to an issue or a feature request, or you name it. I'm going to get a lot better about hopping into these updates and letting you guys know when I see there is a complete feedback loop of saying we want this, and then Adobe turning around and saying, hey, this is where we solved for it. I would love to know what you guys are also asking for. Now, we are still in the news section. I promise we won't be here too much longer. I do promise we have other sections for you. We have lots of other resources and spotlights and hyperlinks to get through today. But I did want to also touch on TikTok, because we always talk about TikTok. And this is a update for desktop users. This comes from Fast Company's tech blog. They say, TikTok just made its desktop experience way better. TikTok's desktop browser is now easier to use, more fun, and nicer to look at. Grace Snelling from Fast Company says she wants the old one back. Basically, they updated the typeface, the spacing. It's noticeably the smoother user experience all around. She says previously scrolling through videos on the homepage could feel delayed and glitchy, which quickly becomes frustrating given that it's the platform's main function. Now each clip transitions smoothly into the next, an element of TikTok's new optimized modular layout that offers a more immersive viewing experience and seamless feed exploration. According to a press release, the look of the platform has also been cleaned up and simplified, including via a minimized navigation bar to reduce distractions during your doom scrolling. I'm not someone who uses a lot of TikTok. I tend to be a millennial that is stuck in Instagram Reels, but I also am not someone who necessarily am flipping through different Reels or Shorts on my desktop. I feel like all those things are normally on my mobile device. That said, it is always important and nice to be able to have a desktop equivalent so that if you are maybe flipping when you're not supposed to be flipping, you still are able to flip all within the system that is, your browser. Is there anyone here that uses TikTok on desktop? Would love to hear. Penny is saying enabling the doom scroll life. Yeah, it's always about that enabling. But we are about 20 minutes into our show. The show is an hour long. So we have about 40 minutes left or so. So let's go ahead and hop into a segment we have every week that's called Font of the Week. For Font of the Week, we like to peruse the Adobe font website. It is accessible to all Creative Cloud members. It is a way that you can add and sync fonts to your library seamlessly across all your devices with hundreds and hundreds of typefaces at your disposal. What I like to do here on the File News Show is we will go and we will pick 3 fonts that we can then vote for the Font of the Week. Then the audience within the YouTube polling function gets to pick out what they want to have declared the Font of the Week. So for the first one, we have Ono Fat Face. This is designed by James Edmondson of Ono Type Company. And this, I don't know if I have featured this before because I really do like this typeface. I think that it's very strong, but it has a lot of personality to it. It's still legible, even though it has very intense spacing and structure to it. It also has a bit of text sizing adjustments, so you can either work with 72 point or 12 point to make sure that it's a little bit more legible. This is in 45 different weights that it has set up for you, and it's very cool. It has it's a serif font if you're listening to it. It is probably a display font. You could also probably use it as a means to be a body font, but you would want to use the lower one. And let me see if I can find their official write-up for it from the Ono Type Company. They say on their website for Ono Fat Face that let me scroll down here. They always like also Ono. We've featured Ono Ono Type Company a few times because they just have really good availability. But if you go to their website, you can always go and see their demos and their process. You don't need to even use the demo because guess what? You have access through the Adobe Typekit. But it says, beginning in the early 1800s, the Fan Street Foundry in London produced a few designs in the brand new genre of fat faces. They were intended for short words to be printed huge, and for this purpose, they worked quite well. In the 1970s, everything old was new again, but this time the exaggerated proportions of the era infected the X heights, which is how high like the height of lower cases are, where specifically the height of the X's, of many well-trodden styles. Weight was pushed to new extremes. Negative space in and around layers shrank to minuscule specks of white. Back in February of 2017, I created a graphic for Typographics. It was based heavily on the famous O and A lettering for Lubelin's identity work for photographer Anthony Hyde Jr. Tom Carnasse, a master of high contrast fat faces, deftly handled the lettering. I used the lettering as a starting point, but it's much more fun to get an image of something in my head and then go draw it myself. The results are, of course, different than the inspiration, and I learn more in the process. It feels like a ripoff, but it's still totally a ripoff. And so it feels less like a ripoff, but it's still totally a ripoff. So it has a whole write-up. You can check it all out, and it's available through it. But that is the first one that we have available for our font of the week. So that's going to be Ono Fat Face. So I'll pull up the thumbnail for it, and it looks like that. We do like to tend to pull these up within Photoshop, and we like to write out things like File New. It looks very pretty. Why is Oliver going viral over here? Tell us, Oliver. This is what File New looks like when you write it out. I messed with the kerning or the tracking, if you will, so that it is a little bit more visible, but it's cool. And then you can always switch through. That's the condensed, but you can do narrow, and you can see the point as to like how it is adjusting, because obviously you have your points of the size itself, but the point here is also adjusting how the typeface is actually constructed. So you have lots of opportunities and lots of places to build out. Next on our list for font of the week, folks, is Manometer Serif. So I went with another serif. This one is by Arne Freytag, and it is nice and thick, similar a bit to the fat face, but this one has a lot curvier edges. You can see here with the M, there is no points towards the top. On the top of the A, the N, the O, like there's just this consistent, like blown up feeling. You can see that from their image that they have already here for the thumbnail. There is a blown up whale in the background that kind of looks like a whale that you would have as a pool toy. Which, you know, you love to see. This is from Fontador and Arne Freytag. This says that Fontador is a small type foundry based in Hamburg, founded by Arne Freytag. And this is just a very fun display font. You wouldn't really ever use this for anything that is a body copy. I think this is only going to be display. Would be a hard time to kind of read this in the at least the size that it is. It says it's a pneumatic ultra black serif typeface with variable pressure. It's called Fat But Stylish. So we're going to do the same thing here, where we'll go in and I'm going to write File New. This is still in the previous typeface that we were just talking about. I'm going to go in and make sure that I have it. Do I not have it synced? I don't have it synced, so I'm going to show you guys how you would sync it in the case that you want to add it to your own library. You pull it up right within the system, and all you have to do is click Add Family. It says Fonts Added to the Adobe Apps, and it will then sync across all of my devices between my computer and my laptop. Also, you can use these typefaces when you're using Adobe Express. And it's just a really good way to be able to not have to worry so much about having to focus with so many different typefaces. So every once in a while it'll take a little bit, but while we do that, we can then hop into our next one, which is the third and last one that we can pick out. And this is called Sedgwick. Sedgwick is a very floofy font. It's from Troy Leinster from the Leinster Type Company. And this is very chaotic. It is a mannered, upright, unconnected script with a touch of tude, as they say. An artwork in itself, it creates an eye-catching texture on the page and is perfect for short poetic text and exquisite word marks. While the lowercase creates the rhythm, the uppercases, figures, and punctuation offer unique and unexpected forms, allowing you to add visual appeal to your story. Sedgwick's forms were inspired by the structure and stroke of Nguyen Juvanx. Tell me how I say that. It's going to be Nieuw space Javaansch. Tell me how to say that. Number one, Troy's unreleased revival 2012 of Lettergeturg's Amsterdam 1909 typeface and the unique form and texture of the civility types of the 15th and 16th centuries. The name Sedgwick is inspired by Warhol's muse, Eddie Sedgwick, and the factory girl with timeless charm and charisma. I am so scared that one day someone is going to just make a supercut of all the times that I am struggling to read different write-ups. It's quite embarrassing. I need to work on it. I should just get an AI voice that I can just have play so that everything is properly properly pronounced on the show. Thank you guys all for dealing with me, and I do appreciate it. You can see here that the manometer serif was updated, and I was able to put it in the file new typeface here. We're also going to do the same thing with Sedgwick, and as I get that set up to also try out file new, I'm going to create the poll for you guys, and then you guys are going to be able to vote on Font of the Week. Unfortunately, it's only available over on YouTube, and you guys know I'm always trying to get you guys over on YouTube. So it's going to make you hop over to YouTube to do the poll and help feed the hungry algorithm. And then we can also, see which one resonates with most people. So I'm going to go ahead and post that right now. Start that poll. And it is live. Clever says you're doing great. Thanks. Penny is also saying, join us over on YouTube. Thank you to Wade for putting the link to the YouTube in the Behance chat. So just hop on over. And while you're voting, just put a little hi in there. Put a little hi in that chat for me. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write file new in the typeface of Sedgwick. So Sedgwick has some very crazy looking stuff here. Very interesting to see kind of the form of ligatures here that are not quite here. We can always go and look at our glyphs to see if there maybe is something that has like an FI or something, or maybe we just have to manually do it. All right, so I'm seeing that there's some where there are ligatures. So are we fortunate enough? Is that an H? That's an H. Wow, that's a tough looking H. So A, B, C, D. I know my letters. Where's the F? There's no F. Did you guys like it last week when I made Wade say a really naughty word on stream as he covered? Also, how did we feel about Wade taking over again? I love it when Wade takes over file now. Who's your favorite, guys? Is it me or Wade? Should I start that as a poll? Just kidding. I don't want to know. I don't want to know because I know that Wade deserves to win. But if I were to use this on my own, I'd probably have to mess with the spacing to do things like bring the F and the I together. But then again, when I do that, it kind of is hard to read. So maybe, you guys are making me so happy in the YouTube chat. Maybe it does work best as kind of just all lowercase. Definitely not as all uppercase. That just looks kind of naughty and weird. But something fun. I mean, definitely if you're doing... What would I use this typeface for? I would do it for a call out. So maybe something like continue. But that kind of looks like a W to me. What does that? Okay. I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this one. I don't know if I'm going to say that this is font of the week. in practice, I like it more than maybe execution. I always consider it file new save as when it's Wade. Penny, that's so funny. I love that. It'd be file new save as. That's great. We definitely have to lean into it. I also really want to update some of the branding for file new. I need to see who to reach out to because I don't trust myself enough to do it. I want to get someone else in on it. But it would be cool because I really want to play more with the idea of like, yeah, there are a lot of fun things that we could do with kind of replicating computer stuff and program stuff. And I think, it's there. So there's a lot more to do. Wade says he doesn't know how to take that penny, which is great. Thank you, Bruce, for hitting all the buttons. Pursuit of Bliss. Good to have you guys over there as well. Penny said something and then retracted her statement, which is funny. Okay. So that's what I have for voting. Well, that continues to vote. We'll let that go on. There is another type story that I would love to talk about, and this is for Sean Baker. Sean Baker, if you guys are not familiar with, is the creative behind Anora, which just won the movie of the year, but also did things like the Florida Project and Tangerine. And there's an interesting write-up on what website is it? Not the Adobe blog, because we're also going to be talking about Anora from the Adobe blog. But there's a write-up on Fast Company about it, and it's all about why Sean Baker uses the same font in every one of his movies. So a lot of times they always kind of like switch it up, but then they go through and they specifically talk about how Wes Anderson has an obsession with Futura. John Carpenter said his film credits in Albertus, which is a formal serif. Papyrus is now synonymous with James Cameron's Avatar franchise. But the thing for director Sean Baker is he uses this decorative Agua Fina script, which is really interesting because I did not realize this until I saw it. I know we have the rights to show Anora's creative, but I don't think we're allowed to show the other stuff. So I'm just going to have you guys go ahead and click into it. But he said that he first selected the script for the title sequence for Tangerine because he was looking for something that was stylistically interesting and because it subverted the grittiness of the subject matter that the movie was about. It is saying that there is an elegance to this production in the way we're presenting the subject matter. And then after he realized the font could serve the same purpose for 2017, the Florida Project, he said, if I continue this, it could eventually become something that people connect with and connect with my films, the way Carpenter and Allen's fonts did with theirs. So there's something to be said about the idea of having a typeface be associated with you as a creator, as you as a brand. I think that as anything else, like that's a risk that you're also kind of putting to the test of time, to both trends, to your ability to differentiate between projects. I am enamored with the ability to do that. I am constantly in my head about making two projects look too similar, and I'm always using new typefaces, which is, I guess, why we're constantly also doing Font of the Week. But there is something also to be said about if it's not broke, why fix it? So what do you guys think? Did you ever notice? Do you know these films as well with these in mind and being able to click on them and check them out, check out the posters? Do you feel like they still speak to their own pieces of work? I will be honest with you. For me, I think it does. I think that it is a surprisingly flexible typeface, even though it is not what you would, initially believe to be a flexible typeface. And once again, the typeface is Aguafina script, Aguafina script, and it is a Google font. So you probably actually can also even access that probably through Adobe fonts, which let me see. Because normally if something's on Google fonts, I think it's normally also on Adobe fonts, and it just makes it easier to navigate. And yes, it is true. I will add this to the raindrop literally right now for you guys. See, just episode 80, and I'm just gonna say font of the week. All right, and then we close it out. And so now, if you guys want to get it, you can get it. You guys can make your own Anora posters. Thank you to Oliver for pointing that out. He said that the the papyrus for Avatar affected him and Ryan Gosling to a deep level. Yes, because there's that famous SNL skit. How are we feeling about the polling over on YouTube, folks? Is that a place that we are still happy with? Do we want to have it wait a little bit longer? We've got quite a lot of votes. It's still kind of close. There's a clear winner right now, but you know what? We're gonna leave it up for just a little bit longer. Bruce says, "What font is winning?" And I don't know. I think you're gonna have to go check out for yourself for right now, because I'm gonna need all your comments to be over on YouTube. I have not gotten notes back yet that I am too aggressive on the YouTube push, but I'm telling you guys, if we get the YouTube up, it benefits us all. It benefits everybody. But from there, why not hop from font of the week into something that is more resourceful for all of you? I would love to hop in to resources. The first one is a podcast, a new podcast coming to us called The Creative Milestone. It is advice for new designers and artists. You guys are probably familiar with him. He was actually just on Adobe Live last week with the launch of Photoshop for mobile. And this is Matthew Tijoko. I should ask him how to say his name always, because that is, something that's probably pretty important. But it is the Creative Milestone. It's breaking down the ways that you can kind of really get into getting a job out of college, putting yourself out there, updating your portfolio. And he's bringing on really cool people. He's working really hard creating reels, which is really cool and time-consuming and its own thing. He's launching full episodes as well and trying to have that also live onto Instagram, but I'm also trying to get him to maybe put it onto a podcasting platform. But I think this is a really great resource, especially for younger designers. It is Creative Milestone with Matthew. God, I should know how to say his last name. Tjokro. You know what? We're gonna be humble, and we're going to say pronounce. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't have one. Okay, so that makes me feel better. If we go to howtopronounce.com, what's it going to say? Jokro. All right, so Matthew Jokro, which is Tjokro. And I think it's just a really good resource for anybody who's looking. It's brand frickin' new. You guys should check it out, though. It's Creative Milestone, or just Creative Milestone on Instagram. It has 70 followers, so do me a favor. Add some more. It looks like he got it up onto Apple Podcasts, which is great. 2 thumbs up to that. And it's really great content and has some really cool people. I mean, you guys will recognize Nick Longo from Office Hours. He's on there. Also, Cesar Arvelo, who is the senior designer at Hasbro. So he's not pulling out nobodies. He's pulling out really helpful things. Oliver says, "Keep trying to pronounce it, Ryan. We need some more footage for the outtakes." I know, and I was going to tell Matthew that I featured his show, and now I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. It'll be my birthday present that you guys give to me next year. You have a whole year for it. Other resources for you. This one's a write-up on Creative Boom, and it's why brand audits are so important and how to do them well. And this is coming from Tom May. It says, exploring the pivotal role of the brand audit in the modern design process and get expert input on best practices. So it feels kind of funny. It feels weird. It doesn't have anything to do with accounting, actually, or expenses. Brand audits instead are like, as you jump into a project, as you jump into a new client, it's really important to just kind of break down what's working, what's not working, what do you know about the key elements of a brand, like the brand identity, the brand image, the brand performance, making a competitive analysis, marketing and communication. And then it has a bunch of different people that they bring in. They bring in Pete Hawkins, the creative director at Chase Design Group, to kind of talk a little bit about like what that looks like, making sure you're asking the right questions, both internally and to people who are already on the team, people that you're working with, the clients. And you want to make sure that you're avoiding false narratives. It says competitor analysis has to be handled carefully, and it's important to avoid getting sucked into false narratives. For example, the BBC and ITV spent the early part of the century obsessed with beating each other's Saturday night ratings. At the same time, YouTube quickly became the world's most popular TV channel. Consequently, in 2023, the number of 16 to 24-year-olds in the UK who watch live TV had fallen to 48%, compared with 76% just 5 years before. In this context, it is questionable how much Strictly beating X Factor in 2018 ever really mattered. So just keeping things in mind, moving goalpost, and making sure you're zooming out and not getting absorbed and obsessed with one thing. It's a really good article. It doesn't take too much to read. I'd say it's probably anywhere from like maybe 7 to 10 minutes to read through it. If you're a slow reader like me. If you're one of those super fast readers, maybe it's like a 5-minute read. But it's on Creative Boom. It's from Tom May, and it's a really good resource for anyone who wants to learn more about kind of a good process to hopping into into work. Next thing, I have some YouTube things, and I've gotten consent from everyone about what that looks like to make sure that everyone is cool with me sharing their stuff, but I want to make sure that you guys can hear it properly. So the very first one is about a brush setting, and it says this brush setting is just magic. So let's see.
Setting that I have overlooked forever. It's color dynamics. And if we change these settings, add some jitters just subtly, it can do this really nice thing where we paint it 100%. This is really cool. This is a brush setting that I have overlooked forever. It's color dynamics. And if we change these settings, add some jitters just subtly, it can do this really nice thing where we paint it 100% and individually add shingles or tiles or bricks. It's really good for these repetitive tiled shapes. And the thing that I like about this is it doesn't just feel like a digital brush spraying things out at random. You're still hand painting each individual tile, but that color dynamic jitter makes it random, so it's always going to be a slightly different hue, brightness, and saturation. Now, like all digital effects, we need to use this artfully and with subtlety, so mask it out partially, put it on a lower opacity layer, and always kind of paint shapes back into it to make it all gel as a painting. It's super easy, but still feels like a nice hand-painted finished product. This is really cool. This is a brush setting that...
All right, and then so I'll just like leave this up as kind of as we zoom in here to see if you guys see it. But it's just a matter of taking color dynamics and being able to adjust it ever so slightly. Especially in this case, if you're listening, you're not watching, he's using the brush settings to be able to add shingles to a roof. And through it, he's just getting a very small variation of hues. And rather than having to go back and change color picker and then kind of go in and then like lose your spot, it's just a matter of using the computer's understanding of color and slightly varying it to kind of then create something new. He's using it for some really cool shingles. The thing that I would think of maybe is you could even do some broader strokes with something like facial tones and skin tones and pigment. You could probably also use it on a tortoise shell. You could use it for like different fabric that you want to like add maybe like an acid wash to a shirt or something. And it's just a matter of making things work smarter, not harder for you. This is coming from Hardy Digital Painting Studio. Hardy Fowler is his name. He has a bunch of really great tutorials and stuff on Instagram, which I definitely recommend you checking him out. He does a really good job at showing you kind of the secrets behind the stuff that he makes. And then also just the stuff that he makes is really, really pretty. Kind of reminds me Sam Peterson, a little bit of Way to Cuff, who's in the chat. And it's just a really good resource to be able to add to your roster of people to follow. Continuing down the resources, I wanted to show Mellow Videos kind of break down real quick of what frame can do, what your frame rate can do to a piece of footage. So here we have a stack of 4 videos. We have 15 frames per second, 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second, and 250. 250 is pretty insane. 250 is basically kind of replicating everything in real life. But as a cinematic experience, sometimes it's better to have those blurs, to have those situations where it kind of feels more like it's on film or something. This is just kind of showing the exact same thing over and over again. And it's interesting to see how choppy 115 or 15 frames per second feels in comparison to 30 frames per second. They in the comments are also saying these are the differences in the appearances of the footage due to shutter speed. The shooting is done in 4K 24p. When shooting in 4K 24p, I chose 160, and then shooting in 4K 120p, I chose 1250. In the comments here as well from Real Eric Lee, they're saying 130 and 160 are perfect for normal scenes. 115 is when you're trying to do Wong Kar Wai, and 250 starts to look like stop motion animation, which is really interesting. It's so funny that like sometimes the stop motion animation is the one that feels like it's like so hyper specific and has everything, whereas like you would probably think that it'd be 15 frames per second, but it's also the changing understanding of what stop motion looks like now as opposed to what it used to look like. And a big shout out to thank you to Mellow Video for us showing and being able to check out this work. Same sort of thing, has really good ways of breaking stuff down, cameras, different footage. They shoot on a Sony, and it's just a nice person to check out. But we only have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure we get through the rest of our stuff real quick. So let's go ahead and hop over to Spotlight. So Spotlight is when I like to be able to pull out different things for you guys to check out. One thing that came up in one of the chats earlier was millennial gray and green, millennial green. And I wonder if you guys thought that millennial green was a thing. So basically, over the years, there has been millennial pink. There has been millennial gray, where it's like everything in the house is gray. But now olive shade green kind of pops up. Even if you go into Google and you just write in millennial green, the AI overview of it says that millennial green is a term used to describe the popularity of green colors among millennials, especially sage, olive, and muted eucalyptus. Green has also become a popular color choice for homes and fashion and is seen as a way to reconnect with nature. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that millennial green is a thing? Is it bad if I really like millennial green? Are you guys upset that I don't know how to spell millennial? What do you think? Yeah, like this. It's on Allure as well. And I love that color. I love these colors. And I was born in 1993, so like I don't know what this is about me. I don't know what we do there. And I'm sorry. And I'd love to hear what you guys think about that. What else do we have for Spotlight? Do we have anything else on Spotlight? Show me what you got for Spotlight. Oh, we want to do like an Adobe Spotlight one where how Adobe tools helped make 2025's winners for Best Picture, Best Editing, and Best Visual Effects more this awards season. So Anora was edited in Premiere Pro. The editing for Dune says visual effects by Paul Lambert, Risk Silicone, Stephen James, Gerd Nefzer, and Patrick Heinen. Used Substance 3D to craft Dune Part 2 stunning visuals. They said that the Substance was edited on Premiere Pro as well. Black Box Diaries was Premiere Pro, and After Effects was used in Wicked. It has a rundown of a bunch of the different ones, which is really cool. And also really nice to know that I can technically edit a Hollywood film because I know how to do these different things. So if you guys want to nominate me for any Oscars for File Nil, by all means, please, let's get into it. Ooh, here's a fun resource, though, that I forgot to do, and it's this little... It's also kind of a hyperlink. So let's hop into hyperlinks, and it's also a resource as a hyperlink. I don't even know. So this is called, liquid paper design. You can go in and you can upload your logo or an image, and then it automatically turns it into this cool liquid metal scenario, and you can affect the dispersion, you can affect the edge to make it like softer or harder. There's a pattern blur here, liquefy. You can change the background, which is kind of nice. Let's just change it to be black. So you can mess with how the pattern is scaled and how much it's going to be everywhere, the speed that it goes through. And I like to, I don't know how helpful it is towards anything else, which is why it's more of a hyperlink than it is maybe a like resource, but you can upload anything, and it just makes it really pretty. And it just relies on either a transparent background or a white background. I think you can also do SVG, yeah. But this is from a PNG of the logo that I can then go ahead and swap out. So easy, don't have to sign up for anything. It's just liquid.paper.design, which is fun. Another hyperlink that's fun to check out is Long Emoji Maker. And basically it just makes any of these, and you can kind of control how long you want them to be, and how much it gets stretched, and then you can copy it and add it to different projects. Not very useful, but once again, just fun. And you can stretch things out or bring it back in. Yeah. Oh, and I forgot that I have one more thing, but it's for rebrand. I'm like running out of time. We have a few more things to get through, and I don't know which to go through. I guess we could do what Hubble saw on your birthday. This is pretty cool on NASA. You can go and you can look up your birthday. So we're gonna say January, and we're gonna say 10th. We're gonna say submit. And on January 10th in 1998, Galaxy Centaurus A. So I was what? 5? Is that right? Yeah, it was 5. This image captures a turbulent firestorm of star birth across a nearly edge-on dusk disk girdling nearby galaxies Centaurus A. Brilliant clusters of young blue stars lie along the edge of the dark dust lane, which is pretty nice. Keys is saying, the story of one man with one desire, making it big. And it's me on the Oscars for my editing. So you can check that out. It's just literally on the NASA government website. Make sure you check that out at science.nasa.gov. Let me know what you guys end up checking out. Keeping with the space theme, we have astronaut.io. It says today we'll do another trailer voice. It says, today you are an astronaut. You are floating in inner space 100 miles above the surface of Earth. You peer through your window, and this is what you see. You are people watching. These are fleeting moments. These videos come from YouTube. They were uploaded in last week and have titles like DSC1234 and Image 4321. They have almost 0 previous views. They are unnamed, unedited, and unseen by anyone but you. Astronaut starts when you press go. The video switches periodically. Click the button below the video to prevent the video from switching. And it just goes through a bunch of different videos that just got uploaded that don't really have any sort of thing. Of course, do this at your own discretion. This is also kind of terrifying. And we're done with that already. All right, we have like 2 minutes left, so the last thing that I want to do is something really cool about rebrand, but I'm not even going to switch over to rebrand. We're just going to go pull up the video and we'll go from here.
How public parks are becoming branded. Public parks used to just be there, a patch of green space with a few signs, functional but forgettable. But now a new generation of parks are emerging, and they're looking polished.
You can't hear it, can you?
Typography and design are all becoming central to how we experience public spaces, and it's completely reshaping their roles in our lives. Take the High Line in New York City. Its minimalist logo and sharp sans serif typography aren't just design choices. They signal a sleek urban identity. The branding doesn't just guide you through the space. It reflects High Line's position as an iconic destination. Or just look at the Underline in Miami. Its branding mixes vibrant colors and clean typography to emphasize inclusivity and energy, mirroring the park's mission to unite the community and celebrate Miami's bold personality. And I think this is cool because this shift isn't about aesthetics. It's about making parks more appealing and thereby more accessible. Thoughtful branding can transform parks into more of a destination, signaling their purpose and creating a sense of belonging to its community and its surrounding neighbors. But there is a tension, right? Because as branding for parks and public spaces becomes more sophisticated, there's a risk that the design could feel exclusive. Parks are for everyone, and so the challenge is creating branding that feels polished and welcoming. What's clear is that this is just the beginning. As we seek to make public parks and spaces more active parts of the community, branding is a great tool to engage the constantly distracted, chronically online public. Okay, we have got to talk about how public parks are becoming branded. Public parks used to just be there, a patch of green space with a few signs, functional but forgettable. But now a new generation of parks are emerging, and they're looking polished.
So this comes from Tatum Brandt. Does some really cool stuff with different branding, talking about industry and marketing, branding, you name it. Tatum Woosley Brandt. You can find her at Tatum Brandt on Instagram. That's unfortunately all the time we have for this week. I thought it was a really good piece. Kind of bummed to kind of quickly just put that in at the end of the show, but it was very interesting about parks and branding. If you guys stay here on Adobe Live, we have Office Hours up next with Andrew and Nick, and they've got a lot going on. We'll be back here next week, same time, same place. Make sure you follow me on Blue Sky, RyanSelvy.com. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, just Ryan Selvy. And yeah, would love to see what else is new with you guys. And would love to connect with you soon. I want to figure out some place for community to live with Adobe Live off stream. Discord is chaotic. WhatsApp is chaotic. I don't know. I need to figure it out. I would love to hear what your thoughts are and where you like to go to hang out with people, because right now it doesn't really exist outside of just the here and the now. But thank you to Wade for also being here to hold down the fort. And yeah, once again, it was great having you guys here. My name is Ryan Selvy. I'll see you all next week. Thanks for watching.